The Christ is the spiritual ideal and 12 patterns of the Christ. Each soul should ever seek and be directed to be under the protection of the Christ consciousness in its seeking for information, or for guidance in seeking for same, and ever be surrounded by that consciousness. The abiding Christ consciousness is ever the activity through which self-development, self-understanding, self-application must come. Be aware, then, of the Christ consciousness dwelling with thee always. Ye are made strong in body, in mind, in soul and purpose by that power in Christ. The power, then, is in the Christ. The pattern is in Jesus. The Christ consciousness is a universal consciousness of the Father Spirit. The Jesus consciousness is that man builds as body worship. In the Christ consciousness there is the oneness of self, self's desires, self's abilities, made in at-one-ment with the forces that may bring to pass that which is sought by an individual entity or soul. As there is raised in self more and more the Christ consciousness, does one become free indeed. And free gives that awakening that comes with the realization of the ideal as set awakening more and more in the hearts, the minds, the souls of others. As ye show forth that ye have gained by the knowledge of the indwelling of the Christ consciousness in self to others, so will the harvest be. Please give that which will be of help in my present development to attain the Christ consciousness. Let love direct thee, with little thought of self, rather with the attitude that the Christ love, the Christ consciousness may be made manifest day by day. Each soul, every soul, should seek to attune its mind, its soul, its body vibrations to that He, the Son of Man, the Mother God in Jesus the Christ, lived in the earth. Tune into that light, and it becomes beautiful. As you seek to become that channel through which there may come to others those blessings, those experiences that are thy very own, know that if ye have chosen that which is the foundation of those lessons, the Christ, the consciousness of His presence abiding in thee, there is that strength, that grace sufficient for ye in every trial, in every blessing, in every shadow, in every light. The 12 patterns of the Christ is for human experience, is for every soul, manifested in the life of service, sees God in every expression, is obedient to a higher law that is God, is joyous and humorous, is compassionate, active in the now, is patient, is forgiving, focuses on the spirit in which we act, is humble. There is none that surpasses the Son of Man in his approach to human experience in the material world. For unless every phase of human experience is answered in the life of the Christ, He is not their guide nor their light, nor their way. For the Master, Jesus, even the Christ, is the pattern for every man in the earth. So He, as the pattern for each, makes the way clear, the way open that each soul, as it meets the crosses, endures the temptations and overcomes them, may become an heir, joint heir with Him to the crown of glory. Not everyone that saith, Lord, Lord, but he that doeth the will of the Father, the same is acceptable in His sight. That ye do good unto all peoples, and that the fruits of the Spirit are manifested in thy thoughts, in thy acts day by day as ye meet thy fellow men in their own conditions. Ye approach more and more to the very throne of grace, you will find thyself leaning upon the arms of some to whom ye have shown those fruits of the Spirit. To someone ye have comforted in trials, to someone whom ye have fed, whether in the fruits of the Spirit, or in the needs of the body, or the heart. Every expression is a manifestation of the creative forces. See in every expression of activity the attempt of that soul to express or manifest that soul's concept of divine reality. For each soul, as it gives expression in thought and act, shows by the fruits of that done as to what is the impelling influence in that soul's experience. As the Son represents the mind of self, it is then necessary that each soul choose the being of one mind with him, though he were the Son. Even he learned obedience through the things which he suffered. Cultivate the seeing of the ridiculous, or the funny side. Know that thy Lord thy God laughed even at the cross. Cultivate the seeing of the ridiculous, or the funny side. Know that thy Lord thy God laughed even at the cross. No condemnation, but rather is there the pattern pointed to as was set by him. He was all things to all men, rejoiced with those that did rejoice, he wept with those that wept. He was glad, he was happy, he was sorry, he kept the faith. He wept with those who wept and rejoiced with those who would rejoice, not taking away the cross, but bearing the cross with every soul who puts its trust in him. For life in its real sense is ever the now. For today is set before thee, today if ye will hear his voice. Today, the eternal now, is ever before each entity, each soul, whether in that commonly called materiality or in spirit. For as he hath given in thee that thou may be the channel, the representative, the agent, the very representative in flesh of him, then act in thine inner self as though thou were his child, and are heir to all the glories here, now, of his kingdom. Not in the future, not of the past. For in the eternal now is he active in thee. As ye would be forgiven, so must ye forgive, is the spiritual law. In patience ye may become aware of, or awaken to, thy soul. In patience, and living in that consciousness, I may bring to your remembrance all things from the foundations of the world. There has also come a teacher who was bold enough to declare himself as the Son of the living God. He set no rules of appetite. He set no rules of ethics other than, as ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, and to know, inasmuch as ye do it unto the least of these, thy brethren, ye do it unto thy Maker. Humbleness is not being ashamed, but rather, as he, knowing in self that it is that necessary for God's will to be the better, the more perfectly, the more truly manifested in thine own experience,